Welcome to the Ave Podcast. My guest today is a track star at Wake Forest, all ACC in the 800 meters, an All-American in the 4x400 meters in her freshman year. She has her own talk show called Tapped In on Instagram. And when she's not running things on the track, she instantly, magically becomes a TikTok superhero / Avenger. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but it's quite amazing. She's got like over 1 million followers, 1.2, 1.3. I don't know. She's a superstar. She's a superstar. Please welcome Pickering's own Aleeya Hutchins to the show. How you doing today?
Hi guys, I'm good. Thank you for having me on. It's so funny. I was saying I'm usually the one interviewing, so it's nice to have somebody interview me, and I'm happy that you reached out. So it's exciting.
Gotta play both sides of it, man. So that's a big part of it. So
yeah, for sure.
So I know, obviously, your life right now is track and being a student athlete at Wake Forest. But every story, has a starting point. Every story has a genesis. The very beginning, like what was where did everything start for you in terms of your love for track? Like, how did you get into it? Like, what was the very beginning of the journey for you?
Okay, so the very beginning of the journey for me was second grade. It was track and field day, sports day, and at the end of the school year, I tried out for all the other teams that year and didn't make any of them. Basketball, volleyball, whatever you want to name it, I couldn't play it. And the first day was sprints, okay? We had 2 days. And the first day was sprints, and I tried out for the 1, 2, 4. They had like softball, not softball, like shot put throw, but it was just the softball. Mm-hmm. And I didn't make it for any of those. I wasn't fast enough. I didn't get like top 3 or enough to make it to like regionals. And I'm in the second grade, and I tell my teacher at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not good at anything. Like, this sucks. I'm disappointed in myself. Maybe next year. And she was like, you know what, Aleeya, like, tomorrow is long distance day. You can try out for like the 800, 1500. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of laps that I don't want to do. But she's like, just try. Like, if you want to make a team, you at least have to try. So the next day I tried out for the 8 and 1500. And I beat all the third graders and made it to regionals. And ever since then, like, the 8 and the 15 at the time, but the 800 mostly is the only thing I ever like won consistently. And now I'm an 800 meter specialist. And
so wow. So you went to the second grade? I'm thinking like you started in high school.
No, like I started clubbing in the 8th grade, end of 8th grade or start of 8th grade, like end of my middle school. But yeah, like the second grade is when I was like, oh, the 800 is like the only thing I'm good at, or like this middle distance event thing. And it only used to be like annually, but from when I was young, like my grandparents and my parents knew that it was something I was going to be good at. So yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I felt, yeah.
That's crazy. So basically from then you knew the vision kind of from there. Yeah. That at least at the very least you liked it, but that was the starting point for you.
And ever since then, I haven't made any other sports team either. So that's how you know.
That's how you know it was meant to be.
They were like 100 over here. We're not even gonna let her average or anything else. So it's funny.
Not even gonna try. So who was your inspiration to get started? Was it your teacher, or was it your gym teacher, or was it just?
Yeah, it was my gym teacher. She was just like, made me feel like I had to believe in myself to even achieve a goal. And that's when I realized, that was like my first realization. Over the years, I've had to be more aware of that. Like, you have to believe in yourself to achieve anything. But that was the first person that made me realize, yeah, I've got to try to keep going. So yeah.
Was there any other people that inspire you to keep going? Like, was there anybody in your?
Yeah, to keep going. I mean, like my parents and grandparents, like every year they're like, you can do this. Because when I was younger, it wasn't serious. It was just like an annual thing.
For fun.
So I was like, oh, I would try, but I would always get nervous. It was only once a year for like 3 weeks. Because it'd be like the school thing, divisionals, and then like championships, regionals, whatever you want to call it, or whatever, the different divisions. And I would always like have performance anxiety. Like I always would underestimate myself for some reason. I feel like that even happens a lot now. I'm more confident, but still. And, they would just let me know, like, calm down, you've got this, you're naturally talented. We started to realize, and yeah, it would end up working out end of the day. So.
And that's the thing too. You're going to naturally have those butterflies, right? Like, even if you're great at something, you still have those moments where you're like, ooh, that whiff of doubt comes by for just a split second even.
For sure. And like, other than like those people in my family, like my blood relatives, like my friends in middle school, and then, yeah, once I joined a club team, there was a lot of inspiration there, just other people who really like had a love for the sport. And then I started looking into like Olympians, like a Melissa Bishop, looking up to those kinds of people, other NCAA athletes, and it's just going from there.
So was there, because you're running 800 meters, was there somebody, I know you just mentioned it, but was there somebody like even through high school or even elementary high school that you're looking at that's maybe like a professional star that you're looking at now where you're like, oh man, I want to be like her. I want to be like him.
Yeah, Melissa Bishop for sure. I mean, she's our Canadian record holder. She's amazing. I mean, she just had a kid and she's like fighting to get that medal at the Olympics this year. She's amazing. Has such a great personality from what I've seen. And I've seen her run a couple of times. Like, she just fights for it. So definitely looked up to her. And I know that like when she was my age, she didn't go to America for school. She went to University of Windsor. Okay. Just like nice to see somebody progress. You don't necessarily have to be in that like big athletic, like hype environment, and you can make it. So I'm trying to make the most of it the same way she did. And yeah, she's somebody I definitely looked up to.
And I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, great talent always comes from, it could be from anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
Yeah. Any school, big or small, different sides of the border, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, it's always,
the background doesn't matter. It's just it's like, how much do you want it,
Mm-hmm. So. No, for sure. Like, and I know with every dream, every goal that somebody has, like, for it to work, it has to be fostered by a great environment. So I mean, first by you, and then little by little, like some of the people that you let into that dream kind of support and foster that. So other than your parents and like some of your, like other than your parents and stuff, or your grandparents, who are the main people that help you build that positive environment that always comes to mind when you think of that?
Yeah. Okay. So the people I would have to say are like my closest friends. Like, I'll shout them out if they ever watch this, but Sam and Emily, they're my closest friends from high school. And obviously like my teammates from high school too, but those girls, my best friends, they don't know anything about track, but they just knew how much it meant to me. And so they would always push me and just tell me I had it. Maybe if they didn't even know what was going on, but it always meant a lot too. And then like my school track team and teammates, I mean, like, they really push me and we want to see each other do well. And then I would say my like home track team, like Coach Brian, Coach Randy, who coached me at the time, like, they really had good intentions and wanted to see me do well. Like, in the NCAA, like in America, I run into some bad coaches, some like negative situations. There is problems over there. And a lot of the time you don't see people or meet people who have you in their best interest.
Yeah.
But my coaches from back home, like my friends and my family, like, they're those people.
Well, I think too, you realize, I guess, when you go to school, you're a quote unquote amateur, but it's more of a job, right? Like, it's more of, at least it feels, the preparation for that is like, it feels like a job. There's a lot more at stake. So
for sure. And yeah, like, I've met some like amazing coaches over there, like a lot of them, but some people just like, they want to see you get the points and win, and it, like, everything else, it's like, it doesn't matter like how it's making you feel. It's like how their reputation improves. So it's like, it's like a job, It's like you're representing that person, that coach. You're
representing that career, basically, right? Because there's always an angle and a play at it. Like, once you get over there, which makes sense too, I guess, right? Because it is
too, yeah.
It is a business, and if they're not getting their points, their job is on the line, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think, you just got to like be very like, I guess, more, like effective with it, or like morally correct, I would say ethical, I would say ethical with it. Because yeah, like some people are too selfish, but then, you know, you also need people who are going to push you too at the same time. Just to find that good balance in the middle.
So was there a moment in high school, for example, where you said to yourself, Aleeya, I got it. Like, was there a race, a practice, like a tune-up event where you thought to yourself that, you know what, I could definitely take this further? Like,
this is so funny, but like it was my last ever high school race as a high schooler. It was not even OFSA. I never won an 800-meter medal at OFSA. Wow. I used to have such bad performance anxiety. I grew up with OCD and anxiety, like pretty bad. So I used to be in my head a lot. I cope with it well now. But it used to get in my head for like most important races. And it wasn't until my like last high school race at U of T, it was in, I think, end of June, maybe July, beginning of July, I ran 2:07. And the reason why I knew like I had this, or I had the potential to be great, was I was running with a bunch of older girls. And every time before I would start a race, I would lose the race before I would start, because I'd be like, oh, they're going to beat me. They've had more experience. Maybe they want it more than me, something like that. And started that race that way. And the last 200, I was like, I'm kind of close to them. Like, this is pretty nice. And in that race, if you won, you would get a t-shirt if you won your heat. And I passed this girl with 150 to go on the inside. And I was like, hey, like, maybe I could get a t-shirt. And then I kept going and I ran 2:07, like a PB. And it was just nice that I started like the race thinking negatively of myself. And I realized how much I underestimated myself. So ever since then, I've tried not to do that. Sorry, the notification just like notification popping up. I'm not reading it or anything. It is gone. But
I figured.
Yeah, but ever since that like race, I've been like, I've got this, and I'm trying to be more mindful of like the talent that I have and to use it as effectively as possible. Like going to the line with confidence and swagger is so important. And just feeling like you're meant to be there.
Okay. So with that said, like, did you get recruited late then? Like, how did this work? Or what was the first school that reached out to you? I guess that's kind of two questions, but how did that work out?
The first school that ever reached out to me, okay, so it was end of grade 11 maybe, and a Canadian school, Lakehead University, reached out to me, and I was like,
Bay, right? Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is kind of fancy. Like, I can go to school for track. They think I'm cool. Like, I was like, nice. And my times dropped that summer. And then a D2 school reached out to me once I ran a 2:09, and I was like, okay, like I can go to the States for school. Interesting. I didn't even know you could get a full scholarship at that time. Mm-hmm. So then my club coach, Randy, was helping me to get a scholarship. And then that's when I realized you could get all your school paid for. So then schools like Wake was one of the first ones that reached out to me. Kentucky, there's a lot of them at the time. I didn't realize like how many were looking at foreign athletes, because in Canada, they don't give scholarships or full scholarships. So I just didn't know this was a thing. But yeah, I got recruited like early 12th grade from like American schools. Mm-hmm. And then I signed in November to a different school than the one I'm at, but there was a complication there. And then I landed at Wake, and I've been there ever since.
Okay. Are we allowed to get into the complication as to what happened with
No, we can get into the complication. So basically at the time, most of my scholarship offers were full. And Wake was the first school that I visited though. So like you're allowed to visit 5 schools. That was 10, 5 schools when you're looking at different schools. And Wake was the first one I visited. And when I visited Wake, I knew that that was a school for me. Like people would always say, you're going to know that it's a school for you when you go. And when I went, it was like a perfect day. The people, the environment was great, pristine facilities. Like I knew that was where I was going to progress. But unfortunately, at the time, my time was not fast enough to obtain a full scholarship from Wake. So I was very upset, and that's okay though. I was looking at other schools. I went to Illinois, University of Florida, like UCF, University of Central Florida, not Florida, but Central Florida and Rutgers. Yeah. And so then I went to Rutgers and it was close to home. So it made sense to me, I guess. And I was like, I felt like I could progress wherever I went. I was like, I had enough confidence at that point. I was like, maybe they're not known for like an 800-meter program or whatever, but like, I think I can progress here. I kind of liked it. I was like, okay, I signed. And what had happened was the head coach of that time at the school, once I signed, he started to text me in an inappropriate manner, like just inappropriate type of language. And I went to the NCAA and to the NLI people, to tell them that like I didn't feel comfortable going there. It took me a while to even speak to somebody, like somebody close to me, to tell them what was going on so that I could even get to that point to say anything to anybody in a higher position. But then once I heard about that, I was released from the school and I was able to go somewhere else because I did not feel comfortable going there anymore. And that was like my first run-in with like people in the NCAA, like coaches using positions of power for negative reasons. There's a lot of coaches who are amazing people, but that was like the first experience where I was like, oh man, like this isn't right, and that was like the complication. So then I was released. And once I was released, I had actually run a faster time after at New Balance Nationals. And then Wake reached out to me again and was like, we're able to give you this scholarship now. And that's where I'm at now. And I've done well there up until my injury. But, that's where I felt like I needed to be. And it just so happened that I was able to go there. So.
And that's not a good precedent when that's happening when you're going to. I mean, that's got to be a lot of pressure too because you have a scholarship on the line. You know what I mean? So
stressful, like because everybody's telling you sign on like November 14th on signing day, and then when it's like a couple months later, and you're like, oh my gosh, is there even any money left? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to take a year off? So.
Yeah, that's got to be pressure and especially too, you go to somewhere where you don't like or something like that's happening. Like if that's the starting point, where does it go from there? You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure it is. It was crazy, but I'm okay now. So
and I guess Wake Forest is treating you great, but has anything like your expectations changed about the school or like how you feel about it from the time that you landed on campus till now, or has everything just been like where you want to see it?
So okay, I think coming from Canada, I'm a kind of person like I don't stand for anything that's like negative, like inappropriate, like morally incorrect, I guess, or like ethically incorrect. So this is when I started to realize that coaches at like in positions of power, like especially like in the NCAA, you hear of it a lot, like use their positions of power for negative. But I actually did have, I'm just not the kind of person that like stands for anything negative. Like I speak up, and I realize a lot of people are like maybe scared to, and that's okay. But like I have my platform, and like I know what needs to be done, even if it's hard. But the coach at my school, like my 800-meter coach at Wake, he ended up getting fired as well because as not a similar situation. It wasn't like he was saying anything weird or that kind of stuff, but it was just like he was doing things that were ethically wrong. Like, for example, this year I like went into like a pretty bad depression from I wasn't allowed to go home for Christmas break this year. But I wasn't allowed to go home for Christmas break this year because his goal for me was to go to the Olympics this year, even though it wasn't my goal. Right. So he said it was sanctioned through the school to like stay over break, or like that it was like okay, I guess. And then I stayed over Christmas break, and then like my mentality just like became so bad. Like my parents and I had 2 separate Zoom calls just asking if I could come home, quarantine, go back. Like I needed that mental break.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to have that. And then I ran my whole like indoor season. All the times were worse than my freshman campaign. And then like I ran a good time once this season at 2:04. And like that was it. But like the whole season, I just felt so mentally drained, and like I didn't feel like I loved the sport. And then I got injured because he was deferring me from our athletic trainers. And that's when our athletic trainers and I like found out that something was wrong. And then it was uncovered that all of this other stuff was so wrong. There's like a lot more to the story, but you know, I made sure that
he's gone now, right? Like I said,
he's gone now. He's gone now. And it was not even like I was trying to do anything negative. The thing is, I didn't realize, like, I didn't know like all the rules he was breaking and the things that were wrong. And I couldn't pinpoint why I was so depressed. And yeah, like, so now I realize how important like mental health is, and how important it is to speak up to like and stand up to people in positions of power that are using their power wrong. Because I thought that everything at Wake would be fine, but first year was okay, and then second year was like, because I did so well first year, there was so much pressure on me, and then it was like I didn't even love the sport anymore. And now I'm recovering, and I just hope I can go back, and I know I'll go back and like do what I want to do with the sport and like find that love for it again.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you will, as long as I guess you're staying positive with it and everything else, right?
For sure, yeah.
But having a clear head, you know, obviously helps, because I know there was some athletes even during this period where, you know, as you said, like we're able to kind of, you know, sneak in and out, quarantine, that kind of thing, and you know, do it for a couple of weeks and stuff, right? So but you do need that. You do need that to clear your head. I mean, even pre-COVID, you know, you do need that little bit of a break.
Right. Yeah.
Because on top of that, I mean, we're talking about the athletic perspective, but I mean, obviously you're a student too. You still got your books, you still got tests, essays, exams, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure. And like, sometimes, you just need a break. Like, you know, just need a break, especially I being an international student. Like, it's like not like my family could come visit during COVID and stuff. So like I would have had to go over, you know what I mean? Like, it's like certain things you got to think about, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes it tough too, because with all the COVID restrictions and stuff, like the border, everything, it's messy, right? It could get messy, so you don't know everything that's happening there. No, it makes sense.
Sure.
I want to ask you, like, what made you do both the 1500 and the 800 meters? Like, it's a unique situation to be able to run both of those events. Like, what made you get into those events?
Yeah, so basically when I started in like the second grade, I don't even run the 15 anymore. I ran 115 this year, but like the 15 used to be like one of my main things when I was younger. So 8 and 15 is like my favorite thing. And I guess it was just the fact that I wasn't good at like sprint stuff. So I got into like the longer distance, because a lot of people are like, you know, it hurts, like it does hurt. So I was like, maybe I should fight through it. And so I ended up being good like at it, just because I don't know, I'm a determined person. So I was like, let me get it done. And yeah, the only reason I stopped the 15 is because a lot of the track coaches I talked to in the 8th grade when I wanted to start track, they were saying that they only train up until like the 800 meter events, because the 1500, you know, at a young age, it can like affect your bones. You know, if you're running it too much, training for it, just that much training while you're growing can be a little dangerous, or like can affect your growth or your bones maybe. And it's a stressful event to run because it's pretty long and the training's long. So that's the only reason why I stopped in the 8th grade, and I just never really went back to it. I kind of just stuck with the 8. And then I did the 4 and 8. And this year I tried 1500. And it's pretty fun, but I'm going to stick to the 8.
Now, I had a friend of mine who he ran the 800 and he did the 1500 and everything else. But like, I want to ask you personally, how do you train for that? Because for people who don't know, running 800 meters, that's running a controlled sprint twice around the track. And I mean, and it sounds simple, like how I'm saying it, but it is not simple. That is a hard thing to do. One thing to jog it, even jog it is sometimes you're like, man, you know, you try to do it under a certain pace. You're like, oh, but to do a controlled sprint, like what for you, if you could just take us behind the curtain a little bit, like what goes into training for you without giving like all your secrets away, of course. But
okay, hey, the secret is the mentality anyway, so it don't matter. But
there you go.
But yeah, I guess we do. Well, when I got to college, we started doing a lot of mileage, which actually helped me. I thought I didn't want to do mileage, all this stuff, but it was helping me. So I started going on like 30 to now I'm up to like 45-minute runs. And that helps. Like you have to have enough endurance to carry yourself out, but then you have to have 800-meter like pace training or like threshold kind of stuff. One of my hardest workouts that we do maybe every 2 weeks is 6 800s with 2-minute break in between. And they're usually around like 240 for the pace. And so like, you're kind of dying, but like, it really helps you to know what it's like to hurt in the race, you know? And yeah, you just have to get used to feeling pain because the 800 is painful. It's not over quick. And even if it is over quick, you're still in that like sprinter's pain. Like you might feel in a 400, but you're doing it for 2 laps per se. Right. And then once you're in like probably like around the peak of your season, you're starting to do more sprint work because you got to have that speed still to make those even pace 200s fast so that you can drop that 800 time, for me at least, because I'm more of like a 4.8 runner, I guess you would say. I like to call myself an 800 specialist. I'm not the fastest in the 4, not the fastest in the 15. We'll work on it. But, you know, I gotta be as even as possible with my splits, and to learn how to do that is super important. So, you know, a lot of pace work too.
Okay, so you're basically, obviously, you're coming from the long distance side of it, not the sprinter side of it, because I know the training is a little bit different for both.
Yeah, I would say we do long distance training, but I feel like maybe on my team, I train more on like the sprinter side of things, because I do sprint work with the sprint group on some days, like our actual sprint group, and then I'll do long runs, and then I'll do like my 800 work. I guess a bit of both worlds.
A little bit of both. You kind of mix it together.
Yeah. So
it gives you that balance, I guess, training wise to the speed and I guess the endurance. It's like I said, I commend you. That is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, balance for sure.
Now, and I know you're currently injured at the moment. What's the injury that you have again? It's
yeah, I had a stress injury. So I had a type 2 stress injury, a lot of inflammation in my shin. I also like had a minor strain on my soleus. But yeah, I'm working my way back up from that. It was when I first started feeling pain in my shin. I never even felt it while I was running. I could just feel it when I touched my shin, and it really hurt like a bruise. But then it got like prolonged, and now that I know about it, it's bad because I'm not running, but I get to have like a mental break. But it's nice because in a way to have this break, because now I can think about like what my goals are like for me, and then like just really strengthening all the parts of my body that I didn't know to strengthen. Like, you know, I wasn't thinking like specifically about how to strengthen my soleus so that like my shin doesn't pull, or like how to stretch here and all that stuff. So I feel like I'm getting a lot more mindful as well as an athlete. I've never had an injury before, so this is the first time, and
it's the first one.
Yeah, everyone has to go through it at some point. So
and it's the way to kind of like figure out your body, right? Like figure out what needs to, like, what's the strong points, what's the weak points.
Yeah.
Like just to, and I guess to kind of minimize injuries going forward too, right? To keep your joints and everything strong and your muscles elongated and everything else, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. Sorry you have to go through that though, but I mean, it is, you're playing sports, you're going to, you know, it's going to happen at some point, right?
It's going to happen at some point. And like, you know, even if it could have been prevented, I knew I had to go through something like this at some point. And like, now I can just be more aware of like everything, like my body, different situations, and hopefully not have to deal with something like this again. And just, get to know my body better, because it's so important to just be aware of what's good for yourself. So, yeah.
No problem. So, like, what actually goes into your process, like, of rehab? Do you have to rehab like twice a day or once a day, or is it like a constant thing during the day, or like how does it work for you?
So since I've been back in Canada, I've been seeing a physiotherapist once a week, and like he's helped me a lot. My physiotherapist at school, she's great, she's so sweet. But at the time, like before my 2-week quarantine, there was only so much I could do, like just like strengthening my ankles and everything around it because I couldn't really like walk or run. But since I've been back working with my physiotherapist here, I've been able to get like more active work done on it, and I'm able to actually like start running again. I've done like a 2-kilometer run the other day is like what I kind of started with, and I did that twice. I was doing a lot of pool workouts to get back into like, I guess like good cardio,
and take the stress off, right? Take the stress off.
Take the stress off. Lots of stretching, you know, just making sure that nothing's tight on its own so that, you know, less chance of pulling or straining something. And then hydration is key. Everyone says that, but like sometimes I feel like being a runner for this long, like I physically feel like when my body isn't hydrated, like my muscles just feel tight and everything. So doing that, but once a day I'll stretch, you know, try to get a walk, bike, swim, or now run in like a small run, and doing like core still, trying to keep my body like strong, keep my other muscles strong. So that when I'm back, I'm not feeling weak or unathletic, I guess.
Now, I mean, I know we've discussed this online, but I know the NCAA has let loose the reins a little bit in terms of athletes being able to profit off of their lightness after like decades and decades of not allowing athletes to do this. So what are your thoughts on the situations and now be a part of this new world where they're allowing you to kind of, you know, profit off of your name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, I mean, for me and so many of the other athletes, like it's so important. You know, we're making money for this corporation. We're putting the work in every day. It's $1 billion corporation. They got billions. I mean, like it's crazy. And we're not allowed to make our own money. But now that we finally are able to, well, I'll get to that in a second. We're not like fully able to.
Right.
Now that there's like hopes of being able to, we're all excited because a lot of us are getting estimates of how much we're able to make. So we're kind of seeing like, this is a real thing. Like, you know, for me personally, I'm not like a money hungry person. I don't like care so much about money. It's not like my main life goal to be rich, but I know that to live a comfortable life, like you have to have money and like to set yourself up for success. Like maybe I want to start investing or, you know, put something in stocks, like save some money for the future. So it'd be nice to have. And it's comforting to know that at some point soon we'll be able to make this money. But the NCAA did rule on the side with athletes so that we could get like grants for educational purposes or like grad school scholarships, grants, stuff like that. But they actually didn't grant us any permission as yet to be sponsored or to do any advertising. And that's where most of the money comes from. Like for me, because I am pretty prominent on like social media, like TikTok, you would say there's a lot of money that I could be making from that I still am not able to make. And then on top of that, I'm an international student athlete. So if they do pass those rules as an international student athlete, you're, as of right now, not able to make that money either because you're only allowed to have on-campus jobs as an international student. And those jobs...
Really?
No, I won't be able to make that money as of right now. So it's kind of upsetting, but at the same time, it's just like, I guess, is what it is, but we're trying to fight for it. So there's a lot of international student athletes in the NCAA, by the way. Of course. That's everybody knows that. So we're like, hey.
That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Wow. And first of all, the bill that got passed that allows like student athletes to get like educational purposes, grants, laptops, those type of things, that literally passed today as we're recording that. But the aspect of, you know, as an international student, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused by that. That doesn't even make sense to me because.
Okay, so I can go into a little depth with that because it's something I had to.
No, please do, because that is no. And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense what you're saying. I believe you. I'm just saying like
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't actually compute, because once you're at the school and you're still bringing in revenue to the school, yourself and other international athletes.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So when I got to Wake, I'm on an F1 student visa. So student visa could be from anywhere else in the world other than the United States. Right. So lots of students on a student visa. As an NCAA athlete, even if they pass the rules for us to be able to make money advertising, getting grants, whatever, maybe the grant stuff, I just know for a fact that like making money outside of school purposes, I won't be able to. You can only have an on-campus job as an international student. And the problem with international student athletes making money through the NCAA, or not through the NCAA, but being in the NCAA, is if they pass the bill for international student athletes to be able to make money, then every single international student should be able to make money. And that's the problem, I guess, that they don't want to deal with. The government doesn't want to deal with, I guess, because it's pretty unfair. I know it has to do with taxes and like us not being citizens, I guess, and like maybe people thinking we're going to be taking jobs from people who live there. So they want us to go through the actual like work visa process, but we're students, like, oh, we don't have time for that. So it's pretty upsetting.
You're living the same life as everybody else that's from America that has the same situation here that you have. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, you know. So
that's something that, like, I guess is that something that you're kind of taking on a little bit in terms of trying to open up that laneway? Or?
Yeah, sure. Like I've been having a lot of conversation with a lot of people who are educated on what's going on, because, you know, it's funny, like people from my school, other student athletes will ask me what's going on because they, you know, I guess I have like the large following on social media, so they think that like I'm ready to make money. And like sometimes I'm like, I wish I knew what was going on, but things are changing all the time, and
that's got to change. That has to change.
To people in positions of power, like a lot of my friends, I don't know if you know, like Sedona Prince, she does a lot of stuff. Like she's always trying to make these different moves and like try to make things happen. So we're trying to talk to people like in the government and trying to make these changes. So interesting though.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I'm thinking, you know, with this opening up, like, you know, people are thinking of the basics of, you know, signing autographs or signing paraphernalia and different things, but you know, we're in the social media tech space world right now. So people like you, like this is where you shine, because I'm thinking like if you're an athlete right now, you know, what's to say like an app company comes and sponsors you, or you have an agreement, you know what I mean? Like all those opportunities are open, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy because we started getting estimates on how much like our name, image, and likeness is worth. And like just to see how much you're worth and how much money you could be making is crazy, because it's like you could be like paying off your school yourself, like, you know what I mean, like paying for, you know, like helping your family out. There's a lot of student athletes also that are international student athletes who have stipends and stuff, and they're sending their money back home to their families because they need it. Like they're their family's avenue to be successful as well. And it's like if we could be making this money, there wouldn't be as many people struggling, you know? So it's funny, not like what it is, but like,
no, it's funny because the thing that I think about when I think of the situation is 2 years ago, and I'm just going from the basketball perspective, when Zion Williamson was at Duke, and I think they're playing North Carolina. So I think that was a game where he exploded through his shoe and he basically missed the whole game. But I'm saying this because they sold out in like minutes. There's people camping out the night before, 2 nights before, just to buy tickets for this game. You know, they're on ESPN all the time. Like him and RJ Barrett, especially Zion, they made that school Duke is already rich, but they generated so much revenue. You know, and that Duke Carolina game was a rival. And I'm looking at that, and the tickets were going for like, some of these tickets were like $10,000.
Like they're making that.
Obama's at the game, you know, Spike Lee's at the game, Hove's at the game. Like this isn't just a little, you know, a little small rinky dink gym. Like these are mega stars coming to this, watch a college game. And nobody's making, like, the student doesn't get, like, I don't know, $10 from that. Like, to me,
No,
that just seems,
you lose
that's
your scholarship.
yeah.
It's
You lose your scholarship.
unreal.
So if Obama decided to buy Zion a burger, or or if Michelle Obama wanted to buy you a sandwich, after watching your event and being impressed at your 800-meter event, that can cost you your entire scholarship. That's crazy.
Yeah, the way it works is like, if there's any possibility that what you're doing has to do with the fact that you're a student athlete, like if somebody's doing you a favor and it has to do with the fact that you're a student athlete, you could lose your scholarship if like they find out that that's like the motive underneath. Like, it's absolutely absurd. But it's like the rules that you have to follow. Like, I haven't made any money off of being a student athlete. Like, since I've been a student athlete at Wake Forest, through my TikTok, like I have 1.2 million followers on TikTok. And there are people that maybe have like 200,000 or 300,000 that like can do it for a living. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's their only source of income. And I'm just like, I get that we're getting our scholarships paid for a lot of the time. A lot of people, like, depending on what kind of scholarship you have, but like, we're trying to get our degree to get a job, but like, this could be my job too.
Yeah, and who knows where that can go, right?
Yeah, and also, you don't know how long this social media, like how long TikTok's gonna stay around for. So like, if by the time I leave school and like I'm like irrelevant on that app, it's like, wow, I really did miss out on an opportunity. But I know that like at the end of the day, like track is my main opportunity. That's what even got me the TikTok opportunity, I guess. Like, yeah. But so, I know what I have to stick to, but at the same time, you think of all these things and it goes through your head.
Well, I mean, you're human. How could you not, right? Like,
yeah, how could you not?
You're seeing these things and it's like these clouds coming and you're like, oh my gosh, like do you know what I could do here? Like, I totally understand that. And you'd be crazy not to even think like that.
And the craziest part is like with social media now is like, yeah, because the most I can do is try to stay relevant for like the next 2 years. So like posting content, but I'm not the kind of person that's like, I post on my social media, but that's to stay relevant. Like, I don't have Snapchat anymore because, I like to live like real life, like in the moment, hang out with my friends, like do that stuff. And social media is also consuming, but that's not the image I put out on there. Like, it seems like I'm on my phone all the time, but like, if I'm not posting for fun, I'm posting to stay relevant. And yeah, like I love the people that support me. Those people are amazing, but like I don't want it to just be for like gaining like clout, what people say, for myself. Right. But at the same time, like, it's crazy. You have to stay relevant. Like, yeah.
No. So, and I want to ask more questions about that in a second, but I just want to ask you quickly, like, what's the misconception that you think people have about athletes on scholarship in your mind? Like,
I think the misconception people have is that like we have it easy. Like, there's a lot of stuff that like, yeah, we have, for example, like the nutrition room, like we have those snacks and everything. People are like, you don't have to like buy breakfast, all this stuff, like we have things, but I feel like a lot of the time it's things that we need, like our own gyms and stuff like that. But for the most part, like, we're doing everything else that the regular students are doing. I should say right. The other students are doing. And the only reason why we have these like other things is because we need it in order to, be the student athletes that we are. But we still got to take care of our grades, especially at Wake. Like, people made it sound like student athletes like don't have to do their schoolwork. Somebody does it for them. Well, this, that. No, I got study coach sessions like twice a week, trying to make sure I'm on my stuff, because everything I do that I hand in is what they're looking at, what they're marking. Like, nobody's doing it for me. Like, I got these 5 classes on top of practice, on top of weights, on top of like my personal stress, and like we're doing it on our own. So maybe that's just at Wake. I don't know what other people experience at other schools, but like for us, like it's hard. Like, we're doing the work. And yeah, I think a lot of people think that we get a lot of stuff easy, but no, you have to work for respect and to be respected, and all of that. Like,
yeah, and honestly, I mean, I'll say it for you if I can, but I mean, you are working harder than the average student that works at the school, because the average student just gets to focus on their you know, their studies and everything else. They can still work. You know, you still got to do everything else, but like you have like essentially a job. It's essentially a job. And track scholarships, I mean, that is like, I have some friends that's done track, and I mean, and you're sighing already. So
I love it, but like, man, it's hard.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you have to love it. Like, it's a lot of work. It is very taxing.
It's taxing for sure. Yeah,
it is very taxing. No, that's crazy, because like I said, I've had many friends, family members who've had scholarships and everything else, and like I said, I used to be a student athlete once upon a time in my life, you know, up to university and stuff, but it's work. It's like, it's work. Like, those days when you're practicing, when your body's sore, you don't want to practice, and then you know, you're leaving practice at 8 o'clock, and you're like, oh my God, I still have to write a 6-page essay.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's due tomorrow. It's due tomorrow, and it's just, you know, you're going through the whole thing.
You're going through the motions for sure. Like, it's wild. And then I guess when it comes to like, if we're not even talking, I completely agree with everything you just said, but if we're talking about just social life, what I realized, especially going to school in America, where like sports is such a big culture and like seen as like this like amazing, like D1 athletes, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a whole big thing. A lot of the time, you realize that a lot of the people that like you or are friends with you or want to be friends with you, you start to think like, would you be friends with me if I wasn't an athlete? You know? And so I keep my circle really small. Like, my 2 best friends from back home, they're my 2 best friends at school too. Like, I can text them, I can call them. I kind of keep to myself. I have one of my best friends at school is on the football team. His name's Jalen. Jalen, if you're watching this, shout out to Jalen. Super cool guy. And then like a couple other people from NCAA, like a couple of other athletes, and like some of my teammates that I'm close with. Yeah. But a lot of people like I'm acquaintances with, or I'm friends with, but not like my best friends. Cause I guess I'm kind of like, you get skeptical of like what people's intentions are like with you. And like, if they're just hanging out with you to go to like the athlete parties, or like, you know, like, can you introduce me to this basketball player or this football player? And you're like, hey, like, how's your day going, girl? You know what I mean? So, oh, hey, by the way, like, a lot of the people at my school, amazing people. Like, I love so many of them, but a lot of people, you know, that talk to you or want to get to know you, you're like, I don't really know if you have like pure intentions with that, or if you would really want to know me elsewise.
There's a prestige that goes along with it too, especially when you're in the States. There's a prestige that goes along with being on the team, right?
Yeah, for sure. There definitely is. And like, this is like another thing, not necessarily with like how people, well, to do with how people look at you, but not like necessarily what they like want to get from you. But as a student athlete, like, I realize like how much impact you have on the rest of the student body. And like, they're willing to listen to you because they feel like maybe, you know, they, a lot of the time they do look up to you, right? And so, for example, like, I go to a private school in the South, and a lot of the population at my school were predominantly white students, and a lot of them are like great people, amazing people. I've had like a pretty great experience at Wake. But when all the stuff last summer was happening with Black Lives Matter, the movement was like really starting to go along. I had a couple of the people from my school message me and say that, you know, if I wasn't following you, like, I don't know if my mind would have been changed, or like actually talk to me about it and like heard what I had to say and like be educated by me because they knew me. And I just realized so many people look up to student athletes, and that's why it's important to like use your voice and to realize, like, I guess the prestige that you have, or like the not power, I would say, but like how prominent you are. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, like there's the power that you do have at your school to make a difference too.
Yeah.
And
especially with somebody like you that has, you know, you have a platform, you have a voice that's popular, you know what I mean, right now. So it's, you know, I know one thing we discussed online, I think you had a live when you were talking about the with the 250
Canada and all,
like, so with the Native Indian babies that were all the burial grounds were at the residential schools and everything else. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I saw the clip, and it was like 6-7 minutes, but I thought it was cool because I'm like,
Yeah.
You know, here's a young lady, she's using her platform, you know, to be interested, to say her piece, to learn more, you know what I mean? And it's I'm like, that's, you know, I commend you for doing something like that, because I know that's not an easy thing to do, you know, with the pressures of everything that's happening, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I guess like in that moment, especially, like I felt like something really had to be said. And I'm an emotional person. Like I'm gonna try to speak my mind as best as possible, like on topics that I feel strongly about. And I guess with social media, like you see everybody reposting stuff and posting stuff. But I was like, me and my friends talk about it. It's like, yeah, it spreads awareness, but it's not really doing anything. Like signing a petition, you could do more, but like I was like, I have to use my voice as best as possible. And there's so many topics that need to be talked about that like I need to be educated on, that I even like tried to talk about, but I'm like, there's only so much you can like post in your story that people are not gonna like skip through or like actually read. So, you know, I got on there and like I got emotional, but I was like, I had to use my voice. So yeah.
No, that's I think that's great. Like honestly, and I mean, and it's crazy that the fact that like last year with everything that's happening with George Floyd and you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else, that what I always find amazing is that there are people out there that are completely unaware of what's happening. Like, I know there was even for myself when that was going on. You know, I had friends of mine that like you know, just their coworkers and stuff, and you know, let's just say like none of their, you know, white counterparts, let's face it, were even bringing it up. And this is Canada, right? But nobody was even bringing it up. They're talking about everything else but that. And I'm like, so nobody wants to say anything about this. Like I'm, you know, having those conversations with people like, nobody's going to bring this up. Like, really? Nobody? It's all over the world. It's all over the news. Nobody's going to talk about this in the chat groups and stuff. Like, you know, I find it interesting.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. You know what I realized, like, from the difference between like Canada and America too, is like I feel like Canada has such oppressed racism, or like hidden racism. Like that's why I did that live, because I grew up experiencing that. Like at my school, like I was one of the like minority kids, so you experience it, and like everyone just kind of forgets about it. Like once you get older, I feel like people like pretend like things don't happen. But in America, like I guess people are overt with racism, but they're also overt with like talking about how they feel and like bringing up these topics. And you know, everyone sees America as like this terrible country, but I feel like the thing is like people actually like talk about what they're saying. And like I guess living there, like I realized more and more, I was like, in Canada we're not that much better, but the only difference is we're not talking about it.
That's it.
You know, everyone sees us as like perfect, this, that. We got a lot of problems to fix, you know?
And I mean, and as you could see, right, 215 children, you know, ended up, you know, like I said, there was a burial site with 215.
They found an extra 300 the other day.
Yeah. And that's the sad thing about it. And that's the sad thing about that too, where you're like, when I saw that, I wasn't, honestly, at this stage, not only was I not surprised, I'm saying to myself, well, if you think this is the only one, then I don't know what to tell you. Like,
it's so sad. And then the thing is, like, with social media, once again, I bring it up again, you know, you see everything on the story and you're like, oh, this like is so sad. Like, this sucks. But you're seeing it on everyone's stories and like everyone's posting about it. But then like, once you like really think about it and like what's happening, you just like get sick to your stomach, because it's like, it's almost like those things pass through your ear and in one ear out the other, or like as if they pass through your eyes when you're looking at it. And you think about it and you're like, this is actually so disturbing. And we're posting about it, but what are we doing about it is the thing.
Right.
You know, like what are we doing? So
and that's the thing. And there's so much information with social media and everything else. Like you could almost become desensitized to it all, right? I think that's part of the problem too.
Yes, you become desensitized. Like that is you're so right. That's the thing. Like you see it and you're like, tap through. Sure, another person posts about it. Okay, well, it's like, how am I just, even if I'm looking at it like 50 times, we all do it. We're skipping through it because we've seen it before. But like every time I feel like it should be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. You know?
Yep. Yeah. And then you swipe up and then it's like, there's 3 or 4 challenges that you're watching. And then, you know.
Oh yeah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like somebody's making slime or something. I don't know, like the most random stuff, like on like TikTok and stuff too. You know what I mean? So yeah.
No, that's interesting because yeah, like I said, you're in a good space right now because like I said, you have a platform, you got you got your youth, so you have a whole landscape of time to like, you know, if depending on what directions you want to take, you know, to go with it. I think it's actually kind of exciting, you know, like like the position that you're at right now, like that's really cool. And you know, I mentioned before that you're a TikTok Avenger. I'm just gonna call you that.
Hey, I love the Avengers. I love Marvel. If anyone that knows me know that. So I will call myself that now.
Especially when you compare it to DC, it doesn't. No, they're just no. You're an Avenger. You're a TikTok Avenger.
That is great. I love that.
And I know for your generation that you know this app is extremely popular. So I understand how you want to be on it. But when did it start to take off for you? Like I'm interested in that. Like what was going through your mind when that started happening? When you're like, wait a minute, why do I have 10,000? Wait, 100,000? Wait, what?
That's exactly how it went. It's so funny. You went like 10,000, 100,000. So it was last summer during quarantine, like when I was back home before I went back to school. And I used to make fun of my sister for making TikToks. I was like, girl, that is so cringy. What are you doing? But one day I got really bored. So I was like, I'm going to cut my hair. I had like heat damage. I'm going to cut my hair and I'm going to post a video about it. I was already posting like small TikToks before that, but I was like, let me try like see something that'd be trendy, I guess, or like that would blow up per se. And I didn't expect it to get that much traction, but like it got a lot. And then I reached like 10,000 followers from a couple other videos. And I was like, hey, Lex, that's my sister's name. I was like, what if I got to 100,000? Like, wouldn't that be crazy? She's like, Aleeya, like that would be unreal if you got like 1 million likes or something. And yeah, then it went to 100,000, like 10 million likes kind of thing, you know, then it was like 500K. Now I'm like 1.2 million and I have almost 30 million likes. And it's just like, oh man, like I never thought that would actually happen. And now when I go out in public, there's always like, even in Pickering, like in my like hometown, if I go out, there's always somebody that recognizes me or is like, you're that TikTok girl, right? And I'm like, it's so weird.
So they don't know you as a track star. They don't know you as this. They know you as a TikTok girl. That's crazy.
Oh, it's so funny because sometimes I'll think people know me for like track or something, and then I realize like they don't anymore. When I'm hosting like my talk show Tap In, I don't think a lot of the people that watch my show know that I run track too. They just think that I'm this TikToker hosting like a sports show. So like it's kind of funny.
So was there like was there one post in particular that made everything kind of skyrocket?
Yeah, there's two. So like the first one that really like skyrocketed, like went like viral, was during when I went back to school, like during like the quarantine days in America. It was like in November, I guess. And I posted a video to the song For the Night by Pop Smoke. And it's just like me lip syncing in a mirror. And with my, like, I had short hair and everybody liked my short hair. And they just liked the way I filmed the video. So it got like almost 2 million likes. And then, so that during that time, I got up to like 300,000, then 400, 500. And then I posted a video. This was actually just like 2 months ago, maybe. I posted a video of me like in my gear for a track meet. And for some reason, like somebody thought that I was just really tan. And because my complexion, they were like, this girl's like, she would be so much prettier if she didn't tan every day. And I was like, actually, like my reply video is like, I hate to break it to you, but I'm Black. And that got like almost 10 million likes. And from then I got like 700,000 more followers. People thought I was funny. So yeah.
That is crazy. And now with this, like the platform has grown to this degree so far. Where do you want to take it? Like, how do you want to use it? Like, where do you want to take it? Just, curious.
Oh man, like I want to take it like far in the sense that like I want to use like, okay, I like to use everything to its maximum potential. So the fact that like I'm an athlete and I have experience in athletics, like my communications major and this platform. So I guess that's why I started the talk show, because I know maybe social media won't last for that long. So I was like, let me start something that could lead me to other possible like careers in the future. So I was like, I have this big platform now. Let me start a talk show because I know I want to be either a commentator, like broadcast journalist, like a broadcaster, something like that. It's like, I'll start this talk show. I know I could get some pretty good athletes on here and use my communications major, like my public speaking skills to do this. And so I see myself, going into like being a broadcaster, like working at ESPN, something like that, or using my track career to go pro and then just using that platform to help other athletes feel motivated or speak out on topics that need to be talked about that are hidden and stuff like that. It's weird because like my like following comes from TikTok, but the videos that I post on TikTok don't reflect me as much like as I want them to. They're more just like, oh, hey,
You're
like
just having fun.
I'm having fun, or like I'm looking pretty, something like that, like the most basic stuff. But like my Instagram, I guess, is where I can kind of show myself more, I guess. It's more professional, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, that's interesting. And I mean, right now, it's funny because you're saying like you want to be a broadcaster, you want to do track. I mean, I mean, where you are right now, first of all, I mean, 1.2 million of anything, you can't ignore that. So you're already, honestly, you're already at an incredible start. Like you're at a base right now where, I mean, who's going to ignore that? So right off the top, if this is what you want to do, they're going to look at that and be like, whoa, okay, we got to bring her in. We got to figure something out. We want to be part of this world. Like that's normally how that would start. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and then on top of that too, like, you could probably do both, in that sense of doing this, still doing broadcasting, while doing your track career, if you decide 100%. To be like a multiple medal, Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
Because, like it's all there, and on top of that too, where we are now, because you have your phone, you know what I mean? Or your laptop or your tablet or what have you.
From anywhere.
Do this from anywhere. Yeah, as long as you have good Wi-Fi, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess the last thing, I mean, it's all of that. And then once I'm out of the NCAA, like I'll be able to make my endorsements as long as I keep myself relevant. That's what I was saying. Like I try to keep myself relevant because I know as of right now, I can't do that. But like once I'm out, like, I'm trying to make that money and like invest and, make something of it.
Yeah. No, and you made it. You may as well. Listen, like I said again, 1.2 is not something like that's nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean? So that's like you're starting from a base where, like, again, like if you want to take these avenues,
for sure,
you're laughing right now. Like, and to segue to that, like you have a show on IG called Tap In. Yeah, where you interview many different athletes. I'm curious to hear how that started for you. Like, I know you're explaining a little bit before, but like. Just, where do you see this going? Because I mean, again, like you're doing good so far. So like, what did it, like, how did this idea start? Was it because of TikTok or was it because you already had a thing in communications and now this is a good way into it?
Okay. So like I said, I like to maximize my potential everywhere. And, I got my track career, my communications major that I'll get out of that, and this platform. Mm-hmm. And it happened through TikTok because on most of my videos, like it's just me like in the mirror singing, doing something. That's what gets the likes for me. That's just how it is. It is what it is. But people will always comment like, oh, like, as they'll be petty, like so much talent, or like, wow, like she must be talented, or like stuff like that. They're like, oh my gosh, like, is this all you do? They don't know I'm a D1 track runner who's like at a prestigious university, like working like as hard as I can to be here, right? And so I was like, it wouldn't really bother me. I don't let the comments really bother me much, but I'd be like, I don't want people just to think that this is all I do, like that kind of sucks. I mean, I have this other part of my life that's so prominent and people kind of don't know about it. So one day I was bored and I got a comment like that and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to start a talk show because I want to be a commentator, like working in broadcasting. I have this huge platform and I want to do something more with it. Like, let me start a talk show. And I knew I could gather these, like, well-known athletes to be on the show. Some of them are my good friends and are really cool people. And it's so nice that I just get to know them, and people love it. Like, it brought the views in, and I love that people love seeing what I love doing, if that made sense. Like, they're watching me doing what I loved, and it wasn't me just being like singing TikTok songs, And yeah, like it's been good ever since. I stopped it since I got injured, just because I was like, I want to focus and get back to it. And when I get back to everything, I want to put my effort in. I'm just like working on making everything as effective as possible, but I'm like really excited to get back to it, and I love it.
And like I said, I mean, the fact that, you're a communications major, like I said before, like I think you're obviously off to a good start career-wise so far. Just a little bit. Once you retire from track, and I'm thinking, long-term view, does having your own shows, having your own production company, is that something you want to do or continue to do, or are you just open for anything at this point?
Okay, at the same time, I'm open for anything. Like, I see the good in like everything. I'm very much an optimist. Like, I would always say to people, like, I guess that's a motivational thing. Like, even if you were like living on the streets, like homeless, I know it's like easier said than done, but there's always a way you can work up from like a hard place. You know what I mean? And like, get yourself out of tough situations, for example. Like, I guess I'm a very optimistic person. Like I said, easier said than done.
Right.
But I mean, I'm interested in kind of doing anything that life throws at me that I see an opportunity in. I try my best to see the best in everything, and I'm excited to see where it takes me. Like, if I do get like a broadcasting job, that would be great. Or I could start it myself, or maybe the talk show blows up and it becomes like a bigger thing. I like to take things day by day. Like, for example, with my love of track, I take it day by day. I feel like when I set myself really long-term goals, it gets overwhelming. But when I set those short-term goals and try to live my best day every day, everything comes to me, and I don't have to like work for it per se.
And I mean, and this is the time to get into those things, right? Because I always like to say that the former foundation of how things work in this world is, and you're seeing it like right now, is everything is kind of being broken, right? Where it's like there's new foundations that are being built, and like even TV, where television is at, like your generation probably focuses on the actual TV, actual watching of TV, probably less than any other generation that's come before you guys, right? Because I'm in a generation that, even though everything is on demand and stuff, like I'm still gonna sit on my couch and still watch it, right? Yeah. Even though I have my tablet, I have my phone, I can watch all those things, and I do, especially Netflix. Netflix stays on my phone half the time, but a lot of times I'm watching it on my TV. But your generation, you guys don't.
On my computer, I love my little Mac with like my mini movie screen. Like.
Yeah, you guys are good. So that's what I mean. So it's like just even that model alone it's kind of breaking everything. So I think whatever comes out of that, I think for your generation, you absolutely, should attack that, and keep everything open, because this is all new. Like even what I do now, like in terms of podcasting is so new still.
Yeah.
Even though it's blowing up, it's still in its infancy, right?
Yeah, so, for sure.
We don't know what's happening with that either. I think that's why I kind of jumped in a few years ago, because I'm kind of looking at it from that space, and I'm like, this radio's not where it's at right now. Like I noticed that like 6-7 years ago, like,
Right? Yeah.
Because I look at it and I'm like, and even at that time, way before I started this, I'm think like a lot of times I'm listening to podcasts myself. You know what I mean? I'm barely listening to radio. It's either podcast or Sirius XM. And I'm not saying radio is not important. It is, but
it's just not as prominent. Yeah.
It's changing. So I think for you, like it's definitely a great look, where it is you're looking to go. Because like I said, you never know. Everything's open right now. This is the best time to start and do anything right now. It's open.
For sure. Yeah.
It's open. Create your own cheat codes, damn it. Like, that's the way.
No, for real. You got to.
No, this is the way to
You
go.
got to. Yeah.
Now, you know, I guess what is it you've learned from yourself during this journey, from all of it, from TikTok, social media, track, being a student athlete at this stage right now? Like, what can you say from the grind of starting out, you know, when you're in the second grade and, you know, you got pushed into doing the 800 to where you are now? Like, what have you learned about yourself throughout this journey, throughout this process?
I would say the main thing I learned, like, through this whole journey is just loving what you're doing genuinely and making sure that everything you're doing, you know, it's for like the best intentions. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, like, you know, I've been in so many situations where, like I said, other people's goals for me have been their goals for themselves. Like, so I feel like sometimes people live vicariously through people, and that's like, you know, that's like a natural thing people do sometimes, but it can put on a lot of pressure. And then I guess when I'm doing things and it's not me really like loving doing those like things, like even track, like it came down to that, it became difficult to even want to be running, right? So I had to genuinely be loving what I was doing in order to be successful at it. In order for me to be successful with social media, I had to incorporate something that I loved into it, like do my talk show, because if not, I was just kind of like posting, like I said, to stay relevant, you know, or, you know, yeah, like that kind of stuff. And then one other thing that I realized, like, no matter how many followers or likes and everything you get, people say this all the time. No matter how many followers and likes you get, you still won't be happy unless you're internally happy. And that's like the biggest thing I've learned too. No matter how big I got on the track, how fast my times got, like how many followers I got, all that stuff. Like if I'm not happy inside, it doesn't matter what everybody else is seeing, because you have to be happy with yourself at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those are like the things that I've learned and that are so important, that I carry through every day now.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's the big thing to, I guess, grasp. If you can master that early, like you can master that at the stage that you're at now in life.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's that's gonna be a superpower in itself, right?
I know.
But it's true. Like, you know, like the basis of everything is love, you know, from, you know, at this stage of my life, I can tell you, like the basis of everything that you want to do, if you don't have a love and a passion for it, it's never going to feel right. You know, it's never going to feel 100%. Yeah. So
it took me a while to figure that out. Like up until pretty recently with like all this stuff going on in my own life, but I'm so happy I made those realizations. And then like, I do feel really happy and more fulfilled than I did even like 6 months ago. You know, I was struggling at some point. So yeah.
Yeah, no, which, and I think, like I said, I think this is all great for you. Like I said, this is all a learning process for you. Even the bad, like you got to embrace it all, right? To like appreciate the journey, right? Like if it's all only about the ups, you know, you can't handle the downs as good if you can only appreciate the ups, right? So, but like I said, the basis to me and everything, you know, I've learned this myself probably in the last few years and during this COVID era too. Like I think everybody on this planet has a chance to like really reflect on life and stuff, and you know, and I think that's one of the big things you learn is like it's all about love. It's all about the love, man. Love and the passion. Like this, all about it. From family, friends, crafts, you know, goals. Whatever it is, if it's not about that love and, you know, that love inward for yourself and what you want to do first, it's just, it doesn't feel the same.
For sure. Yeah.
And I got one more question I got to ask you before we wrap. Like, this is my last question, and I'm going to be super serious here. So, you know, I hope you can stay with me on this. It's the best way I can ask this. Did your brother ever forgive you for cutting his hair?
I wish he was here. This is like the best question ever. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know what? He wanted a buzz cut. So I was like, okay, let me try to fade you then. Cause I I gave myself my own haircut. Like I have short hair because I just like it that way. I realized. So I have short hair. I was like, let me try to fade you. So maybe I could fade myself. Oh man, I messed that boy up. I feel so bad. But in return, he wanted me to get a bad lineup. So I'm wearing my wig right now. I'm not gonna take it off, but currently I have the worst box lineup. Don't have my edges right now, but it was in return. I felt pretty bad. I'm gonna wear the wig for a couple more weeks, and
hopefully the edges will grow back.
Yeah. Hopefully, they usually do. So it would be great if they would. But yeah, that video is so funny. I'm sorry. People keep asking me about it. I'm like whenever I like go places, if they've seen it, they're like, "Did your brother actually like let you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm never gonna do it again."
Yeah, they're like, "How's your brother? Is your brother okay?"
Yeah, they're like
he still loves you, right? Your brother still loves you. Like it's just.
Yeah, they're like, "Is he safe with you? You shouldn't be cutting his hair. You didn't do a great job." Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's a great last question. I love that one.
Well, thank you. And it's funny because just to give you a quick little story, your brother ended up better than I did when my sister cut my hair the first time. And this was years ago. She cut off a piece of my ear.
No.
Yes. She cut off a piece of my ear.
That
never grown back. So at least your brother doesn't have that.
Yeah.
At least the hair could grow back.
Stop. Oh my gosh. You know what? Maybe this is my like next avenue in life, being a barber. I'm just gonna prove everybody wrong.
Maybe.
But that's so funny. Thank you.
Maybe celebrity lifestyle barber coming at your service.
Celebrity lifestyle track star barber. You know.
You gotta see where it goes.
Arm cut. No, that's so funny though. Thank you though.
No problem. And look, Aleeya, thank you so much for hopping on this podcast and jumping on the Ave and having a conversation. Yeah, I appreciate having you on. And I know we've been trying to hook this up for a little bit, but
yeah. Thank you so much. Like it means so much. Just having somebody ask me to be on their show. So thank you.
For sure.
All right. Bye, everybody watching. Thank you for watching.